All right. Hello. Hey, this is Warren Redlick. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you're catching this, and I'm really excited to be here. Good day. I hope you all can hear me. I'm going to watch the chat just to make sure everything's okay. I see hello. So apparently it's working. Really quick before I get started on the main topic, I wanted to mention that I'm going to be, right now I'm doing my regular live stream. This is 1 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. At 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to start a live stream. I'm going to talk about the risk of war. This is going to involve Starlink being used in Ukraine, Starlink potentially being used in Iran, and then the potential. I get a lot of questions about, what if questions about how war might affect Tesla stock, which I'm going to talk about why I don't think that's the most important question about war, but I want to talk about different things that are going on and see what people think. And so on the Daily Lie, the way it's set up, there's a link in the if you're looking at the chat, there's a link in the pinned in the chat at the top of the chat. There's a pinned link with a link to the description. And if you just go to warrenredlick.locals.com, there should be a link in the video description below. You can check that out. And I'm wearing the Daily Lie t-shirt, t-shirts at elonbits.com. If you are a paying supporter of the Daily Lie, then you can comment in the chat. You can comment on the post. If you're not a paying supporter, you can still watch the video, but you can't comment or chat. So I just want to get that out of the way really quick. Let's move on. Some quick Tesla, Elon, SpaceX news before we dive into macroeconomic stuff. There's this story I keep getting. I have friends who like to tease me about Tesla, and anytime there's a negative story about Tesla, they'll text me something that's typical FUD. So there's a headline circulating that Tesla's recalling 1.1 million vehicles. This is a software update that we get software updates all the time. It's not really a recall. It's silly that this is called a recall, but it's called a recall. Elon says the terminology is outdated and inaccurate. This is a tiny over-the-air software update. And to the best of our knowledge, there have been no injuries. I think this had to do with Windows or something. Like the Windows were, questionable in how they operate. It's just dumb, but it's the type of FUD that people grab onto. Moving on quick from that. The question about Starship. Oh, I didn't get this. Get the full thing in. So there's two things going on with Starship. One, when is the orbital test launch likely to happen? Elon is saying late October, maybe, but November seems highly likely. For those who follow me, I like to road trip. I am planning on road tripping to Starbase, the southern tip of Texas, to watch the orbital launch when it gets close. I'm going to drive out there in my Model X. I'm probably going to stay at Rocket Ranch and sleep in my car. If you're not familiar with Rocket Ranch, check it out. I bought a ticket from Rocket Ranch to go to their viewing site, which is one of the best viewing locations I've ever seen to watch any rocket launch. Big fan of Rocket Ranch. Anthony Gomez, thank you so much for supporting me and other YouTubers and other people who are excited about space and the Rocket Ranch team as a whole. And Chris Bergen, who's a strong person to follow on Twitter. Chris Bergen and Eric Berger are two great people to follow on Twitter about what's going on with SpaceX and space in general. He asked if there's an estimate for the first booster at 39A. 39A is Cape Canaveral's launch pad, where they're currently building a launch tower for Starship. And they're building a manufacturing facility at what's called Roberts Road, which is another part of Canaveral. So he's asking, number one, when do they expect the first booster to be at 39A? And are they going to build that at Starbase, or is it going to be are they going to build that in Canaveral, or is that going to be brought from Starbase? And Elon is estimating Q2 next year, which is April to June of next year, 2023. And the vehicles would initially be transferred by boat from Port of Brownsville, southern tip of Texas, to the Cape. It'll be interesting to see how they pull that off. Booster's a pretty big object. How are they going to get that there? What kind of ship would take it? How do they I guess they would crane it onto a ship. The Starbase is pretty close to the water. So there's a canal there that they get things out of. So maybe that's how the plan. I don't know. It's pretty interesting to see how they would carry that out. So that's some fun things to watch for the future. All right. So now turning to the main topic. The main thing I want to talk about today is macroeconomics and its effect not only on Tesla stock, but on the economy as a whole. There's this tweet. There's this guy, Jeremy Siegel, who's he may be a Nobel Prize winner, but he's a very, very prominent economics professor of finance at Wharton, which is the top business school in the United States. And he shreds the Federal Reserve in this 2-minute or so video. And Elon says he's obviously correct, and Gary Black agrees with him. I, I agree for other reasons. It's all I have different, pretty radical opinions on the Federal Reserve. Like we shouldn't have one, but um, fundamentally, there's a concern. I don't think this is Elon's concern. I don't think Elon is worried about Tesla. I think Elon is worried about the overall economy. That our economy is in trouble. That global economy is in trouble in a lot of ways. And if so, so Jeremy Siegel's complaint. If you watch his video, he's looking, and Elon is looking, and Kathy Wood has been looking at what's coming in the future. And we are seeing housing starts are down. We are seeing the real estate market already starting to decline. We're seeing a lot of pressure on a lot of areas of the economy where we're heading towards a recession. And housing prices are starting to fall in a lot of markets. A lot of Elon is seeing, and he said before that commodity prices are coming under control. The things that Tesla buys to build its products, those prices are coming under control. And Siegel is just ripping into the Federal Reserve, saying these guys are reacting to the past and they're not looking at the future. So I am deeply concerned about inflation myself. I think the Federal Reserve really blew it earlier by pumping so much money into the economy. There's this whole, I don't want to get too much into the events of the last few years. I think federal government, other governments massively overreacted in many ways, shutting down parts of their economies in many different ways and damaging the economy. The solution of pumping money into the economy is not a solution. If you don't allow people to produce, then giving money out doesn't fix anything. So, you end up really creating perverse effects in your economy. So this starts not with the Federal Reserve's decision yesterday, day before yesterday. This really starts with macroeconomic decisions that have been happening for years or decades, with the federal government massively overspending, the U.S. federal government and other governments massively overspending their revenue, deficit spending everywhere, governments running up to huge debts. And then you go back to, I think it was 1913, the creation of the Federal Reserve. The dollar is controlled. Somehow the control over the US dollar was handed over to this cabal of bankers, or banksters, as some of us call them, who decide what interest rates are going to be and decide, how much money to print and all these things. And there's some variation. There was what happened in 1972-ish when Nixon took us off the gold standard. But fundamentally, there's a long history of governments printing money and borrowing too much and blowing up their economies and wrecking and really causing massive social disruption. And people don't pay enough attention to this. This is a huge, huge, huge potential problem. So there's a couple things here. With the Federal Reserve really putting the clamps on the economy, higher interest rates mean when you want to get a car loan, your interest rate on your car loan is going to go up, which means your payment on the car will go up and you might be able to afford less car. You want to buy a house, if mortgage rates are up, I'm hearing from people that mortgage payments on a particular house are like doubling compared, when the interest rates are 2.5% versus interest rates are 6%, the 30-year mortgage payment might double. I'm actually thinking about buying a place to live and I may wait a year. I don't have any particular pressure to buy something now, so I may rent for a year. I have reasons why I want to wait anyway. So I may want to wait a year because I could pay cash to buy something, but I would have to sell Tesla stock. And the one rule of being a Tesla hyperbull is you don't sell Tesla stock. So I don't want to sell Tesla stock to buy a home. I have some cash lying around, so I want to do like a 5% down payment and finance whatever I'm going to buy. And if mortgage rates are going to go from 2.5% to 6%, and my monthly payment's going to go up that high, all of a sudden renting starts to make more sense. And you're just seeing like that's just me, right? But these effects, what I'm feeling, are affecting home buyers. They're affecting car buyers. They're affecting businesses that are deciding whether to borrow money to invest in whatever they're doing in their business. If you raise interest rates, you're basically slowing down the economy, which means fewer jobs, means fewer things produced in the long run. There's a lot of impact. So I want to turn this to Tesla for a minute because people talk about this and I get questions all the time. Well, what if, and I see people talking about macroeconomic effects on Tesla stock. And in particular, there's a sense that when interest rates go up, the PE ratios go down, which I don't think makes any sense at all. if you are a long-term investor, this is the key. This is the thing. If you are looking at this in the short term, if you are a Gary Black, my friend Xander, there are people who look at the stock in the short term and they say, well, what's going to happen in the short term and how can I game the system in the short term? I don't play short-term games at all. If I have free cash and I don't need it for something else, I buy Tesla stock and I hold it. Let's be clear, I have never sold a share of Tesla stock. I started buying in 2016 and I have never sold a share. This is one of my jokes though. I have not made money on Tesla stock. I have not lost money on Tesla stock. You can't make or lose money on Tesla stock until you sell. And I'm not selling because I'm looking at the long-term prospects for the company as a whole. And what interest rates are today or tomorrow don't really matter to Tesla because Tesla doesn't borrow money in any significant amount. It has some potential impact on demand if car buyers are financing the transaction and their car payment goes up, what they can afford to buy. But Tesla's demand is so off the charts huge that it doesn't really have that much of an impact on Tesla. Got the Inflation Reduction Act. It's going to create a tax credit. So buyers are going to be able to buy their cars for, less money anyway. So I don't see this, Tesla's problem has never been demand. Tesla's problem has always been, can they produce enough vehicles? Can they get enough supply to produce their vehicles? That's the challenge that they're facing. So a lot of people focus on, and it is true that Wall Street investors see interest rates up and they lower their price earnings ratio evaluations. And I honestly don't get that. If you are a long-term investor and you're looking at what Tesla is going to produce over the next 5 or 10 years, if you're looking at it from that perspective and you say, let me see if I got this straight, I can pick up Tesla stock for, I don't know, is it under $280 a share right now? Where do you think this stock is going? And this is my channel. I'm going to take this off the screen. My channel focuses on, one key point, which is look at what the company is doing. What is Tesla doing in terms of manufacturing, in terms of software? Where is this company going? And we know the answer to this question. They are ramping factories. They are getting ready to build new factories. They're producing in high volume. They're getting their margins down. There's all these great things happening at Tesla. And these things aren't changed by the Federal Reserve raising interest rates or printing money or not printing money. Tesla is going to continue to grow. They're not demand limited, at least for the foreseeable future that I see. They're ramping production of Megapack. This is the big secret for Q3. Nobody's talking about Megapack. I don't know what vehicle deliveries are going to be. There's some hint that vehicle deliveries are going to be a little bit lower than expected in Q3 and higher in Q4 because some deliveries are being shifted to Q4. You can get into all that. But almost no one is talking about Megapack. I think Matt Smith talks about Megapack. Not many people talk about Megapack. Megapack is ramping. Powerwall is ramping. I think we're finally seeing Tesla Energy kick into gear because Martin Viecha said, and it's true, and Martin Viecha said it, that Tesla is no longer battery limited. They're no longer supply chain limited. So their limit now is how much can they produce? How fast can they ramp production of the things that they want to sell that people want to buy? I'm in a house right now. I'm renting a friend's house for a couple months. Solar panels on the roof, Tesla power walls in the garage, Tesla charger. This place is fantastic. This is what I'm going to be living in the future. When I buy something, it's going to have Tesla solar. It's going to have Tesla power walls. It's going to have Tesla charger. Absolutely. These are the things that, if you want to make your life better, if you want to be more secure when there's a hurricane, if you want to be more secure from power outages, Tesla makes great products that make life better. And people want that. And there's a lot of people willing to pay for it who are waiting in line to get it. Megapack, if you ordered a Megapack today, that's a commercial side thing. Your order is going to be delivered in like 2024, late 2024, early 2025. So there's just no demand pressure on Tesla. Even with all these problems, there's no pressure. So when you talk about macro and you look, interest rates are going up now, right? And the Federal Reserve is saying they're going to raise them more. But at a certain point, they're going to have to buckle with if the economy really starts to suffer, not just the U.S. economy, but the world economy. When the United States gets the cold, the rest of the world gets the flu. That's a saying. If they really crank down on the U.S. economy, that's going to affect other countries too. And in my own take on it, I'm a little bit political. I'll get a little bit political here. Maybe I'll be more political I'm going to be doing a video on the Daily Lie after. That's at 2:00. Cynically, I think they are crashing the economy. They know that, I'm sorry, this is a little bit political. They know Biden's going to lose the election. Not, they know that the Democrats are going to lose the House and the Senate. And they've decided, well, let's just crash the economy all to hell, so that in 2024 we can blame the Republicans and get the next Democrat elected. That's my politics. I'm sorry. I'll stop that now. That's my cynical political conspiracy theory about why they're raising rates in the face of obvious decline in housing starts, decline in home prices, all kinds of other issues, improved flows of commodities, all these other things. It doesn't make sense from an economics perspective, from, Elon, Gary Black, Kathy Wood, Jeremy Siegel. There's a lot of people saying this doesn't make any sense. It makes sense if you think about it politically. It doesn't make sense if you think about it from economics. I would say, though, just to be clear, my view is the government shouldn't control interest rates. The government shouldn't control currency. A little quick thing on cryptocurrency, because people freak out about cryptocurrency. We don't treat them as currencies. Right? Elon is trying to treat Dogecoin as currency, but Bitcoin, Ethereum, they became crypto assets instead of cryptocurrencies. They missed the point. The real genius of cryptocurrency was as a currency to replace shoddily run government currencies like the dollar, where the government just prints whatever money. If you look at how much money they printed in the last few years, they like 5x the money supply. If you look at M1, just go Google M1 Fred. Fred is one of the Federal Reserve Bank websites. Google M1 Fred and look at the hockey stick of how much money they printed. It's absolutely crazy. Thank you, William. I don't know how that notification thing works. Sorry about that. I've never figured out YouTube notifications either. So I just, want to stress, like, as an investor, I look at, I think we're heading into a recession. I think the Fed is pushing us into a recession. We were already heading into a recession. The Fed said, let's heck with it. Let's make it a depression. I don't know. What we saw in the last few years is we faced very challenging economic circumstances, very challenging social circumstances, and weak companies shrank and Tesla grew. Tesla grew in the face of a struggling economic system and struggling social issues. Tesla grew. The strong do well in a crisis, the weak do poorly. So when you're making decisions about where to invest, right, you can invest in stocks, you can invest in bonds, you can invest in cash, and within stocks, you can invest in this stock or that stock. I don't get involved in bond investing, and I don't hold cash. I don't trust cash in an inflationary environment. If we're having a high inflation, then I'm worried about holding cash because cash declines in value. Tesla's productivity does not decline in value. Now, there's certain things you can hold, firearms, Tesla cars. There's certain things that increase in value no matter what. And cash is very risky in an inflationary environment. Right now the dollar seems to be strong, but if we have high inflation at some point, that catches up to currencies, and you can see problems with holding currency. I don't trust bonds. When there's a collapse, some bonds go under, and you can say, oh, my bond is, has a high credit rating or whatever. Well, Tesla doesn't have a high credit rating. It's the safest investment in the world. So, General Motors is an investment grade credit rating, I think. I forget who has it. There's companies that have investment grade credit ratings that don't deserve it. You just never know whether they're going to go under. So the thing with stocks is, so then when you get within stocks, say, what stock should I hold in a crisis? Well, Tesla just proved to you for the last 3 years that the company performs well. Whatever happened with the stock price over the last few years, the company performed well in the middle of a crisis. They grew deliveries, they grew revenues, and they grew profits in the middle of a crisis. What company do you want to be in a crisis? Where do you want to invest your money? What other company is going to outperform the market? So if you're going to hold and you're not looking for where am I going to be in 6 months, like if you're planning, and I want to be clear about this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. If you're thinking, where am I going to put my money for the long term, I can't tell you what to do. I can tell you how I think about it. What I think about is, I'm not selling next week. I'm not selling next month. I'm not selling in 6 months. Right? I may actually be. I have one account that I may actually be forced to sell from. That's a longer conversation, but that would be the end of next year that I would start having to start selling some Tesla stock, and I'm going to sell it, put it in another account, and buy it again. So, but I don't know if that counts. I have to pay some taxes, so I won't be able to buy as much. But you look at the future and you say, if you're looking out 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and you're saying, okay, at some point the Fed is going to have to lower interest rates again. At some point the economy resumes growth. Where do you want to be now? You want to be in a company. I want to be in a company that I'm confident will grow in the middle of a crisis, that will outperform other companies in the middle of a crisis. Again, I'm not talking about stock price. I'm talking about revenue. I'm talking about profit. I'm talking about deliveries. I'm talking about technological growth. I'm talking about all those things, all these good things that we see in Tesla. Whatever crisis you throw at Tesla, they seem to be on top of it before anybody else, preparing for it before anybody else, and moving forward before anybody else. This is a question I would ask people, to talk about yourself. What else would you do with your investment money other than buy Tesla stock? Buy real estate. Real estate prices are dropping now. Put it in cash. Cash is a really bad risk of inflation. Bonds are risky in inflation as well. I don't think there's a really good choice. Digital Blade C8 is not. It is an inherited IRA, and I have to start drawing from my inherited IRA next year. And then we'd be putting money into I have to like a minimum distribution type thing. They draw like 10% of it. It's a lot of money. I have a lot of Tesla stock in that account. That's my biggest holding of Tesla stock, actually. So anyway, so that's the fundamental point is when people ask me about macro, when I hear people talking about macro, they're always thinking short term. They're always thinking, well, this is going to lower the PE ratio or the Wall Street. Like, how does this lower the PE? It doesn't make any sense how it lowers the PE ratio. Look at what the company's doing. Look at where they're going to be next year, 2 years, 5 years down the road. 5 years down the road, how many cars is Tesla going to be making? What are their margins going to be? How much profit are they going to be making? And let's say you're skeptic on robotaxi, right? A lot of my friends are skeptical on robotaxi. They don't think it's right around the corner. But really, you don't think it's in 5 years? You don't think in 5 years Tesla will have a robotaxi fleet operating? You have to be a pretty skeptical person to think robotaxi fleet won't be operating in 5 years. I mean, I understand the Tesla Q people. I understand the people who don't know Tesla, people who don't understand software, who haven't driven FSD beta, who haven't experienced it. I understand those people saying, oh, that's never going to happen. Just like computers are never going to beat Go, and they're never going to beat world champions at Go and world champions at chess. It's coming. And once the robotaxi network goes live, the longer it takes, the bigger the fleet when it goes live, because the fleet turns on, you flick a switch and the fleet goes live and the robotaxi network goes live and the profits are gangbuster crazy. And BOT is coming in. How long until BOT is profitable and generating significant revenue? 5 years out, maybe, but certainly within 10 years, let's say 2030, right? BOT's gonna be making money by 2030. I'm pretty confident of that. So when if you're looking at what's my stock price going to be tomorrow, what's my stock price going to be next week, what's my stock price going to be in December, I can't call that. I don't make those calls. I'm fairly confident that by the end of January, after the Q4 earning numbers have come in, I think we're going to see, if everything I've heard is correct, we may see 500,000 deliveries in Q4. Not because Tesla's produced enough for that, but because there was a lag in deliveries in Q3 that shifts to Q4. So Q4 ends up possibly pushing 500,000 deliveries. And you look at the revenue numbers for that, you look at the profit numbers for that, I think you're going to see earnings per share of over $2 in Q4. And that's like January 21st of 2023, we get that number. And if you just do the math on that and you say, well, wait a minute, if they made over $2 a share here, and you look at the growth of the profits, and you look at what's happening with margins, and you look at the ramping of the factories, and you just sort of like do a little bit of like not complicated math, you start figuring out, wait a minute, earnings per share in 2023 is going to be more than $10 a share and might be $12 a share. And if earnings per share are $12 a share at a 50 price earnings ratio, which is absurdly low for a company that's growing this fast, that's a $600 share price. So my gut is, when you're looking in late January 2023, I can't call Wall Street. I can't understand how they think. But if we see Tesla trending towards $12 a share earnings, even if it's $10 a share, that's $500 a share, right? If it's $10 a share earnings per share, that you're looking forward to 2023. If it's $2 a share in Q4 and it's growing, then it's going to average at least $2.50 a share for 2023, and it might average $3 a share quarterly, and that leads to $10 or $12 a share, and the share price should go to $500 or even $600 a share on only a 50 price earnings ratio. And then you have to like this process. Wait a minute, how much more growth is there? And the answer is there's a lot. There's a lot more growth coming. If you don't believe the growth is coming, that's a different story. If you think, I've heard people say, oh, Tesla's going to grow 50% a year for another year, and then its growth is going to drop to 30%, and then it's going to drop to 10%. If you think Tesla's going to stop growing 50% a year, okay. I can't help you. Got a massive cash pile that's growing fast, and they're going to dump it into building new factories. The new factories are going to be even more efficient than the current generation factories, which the current generation factories are way more efficient than the Fremont factory, which is profitable. Fremont is profitable. Shanghai and Texas and Berlin are way more efficient and way more profitable long-term than Fremont. And the next generation of factories are going to be even more profitable than that. And then you add in the value of FSD, and you add in the value of robotaxi, and down the road you add in the value of bot, and you add in Megapack growing and Powerwall growing. And I think people are massively underestimating the margins on Megapack and Powerwall when they're ramped. All these good things coming, with no battery shortage, you're going to see huge volumes of Megapack going on. We're going to hit 40 gigawatt hours. Probably, I don't know if we're going to hit 40 gigawatt hours next year. We're probably going to have a run rate of 40 gigawatt hours a year by the end of 2023. We're probably going to see another Megapack factory being built. We're going to see Powerwalls ramping. Maybe we're going to see a Powerwall factory coming. I don't know. So I'm not getting into Osaka, where the next Gigafactory is in this video. I think there will be more Gigafactories coming. I don't think it's going to be one. One thing I'll say is I don't think it's going to be one Gigafactory. I think by the end of 2023, we're going to have about 2 or 3 more new Gigafactories. And don't forget, Shanghai has already acknowledged that there's going to be a second Gigafactory built in Shanghai. And I'm going to talk about, again, I want to mention just really quick, I'm going to be talking in about a half hour. I'm going to start a live stream, a little more than a half hour. I'm going to start a live stream on the Daily Lie, and I'm going to talk about risk of war. There's some news today out of China. There's some rumors about internal political turmoil in China. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on in the world that we can't control. We just can't control what's going on in the world. So, there's all these potential risks out there. What if China? I mean, you hear these. What if China nationalizes the Tesla Gigafactory? Like, why would they do that? That doesn't make any sense. They're not going to know how to run it. That doesn't make it. They're going to take the factory and do nothing with it. They're not going to know how to operate the factory. Are the workers going to work there? Are the managers going to stay and work as slave labor? How does that work? How does China make money out of nationalizing the Gigafactory? Somebody has to operate the Gigafactory. It's a high-tech operation. You got to know how to do it. They're not going to know how to do it. So, all right. That was, just the larger point. The larger issue is really simply this. If you are focused on Tesla long-term and you hear all this talk about macro issues, and I think the underlying message I would have is people worry about the stock price. I have friends who are long-term investors, and it bothers them when the stock price dips. And I'll just say, I don't care. I honestly don't watch the daily stock price. I only know about it because I'm on Twitter all the time, and my friends are tweeting what's going on with the share price, or my friends are talking about it. I don't look. I have a few other stocks, a few other assets. I don't check my other assets and see what they're, because I'm a long-term investor. I don't care what happens with the stock on a day-to-day basis. I care where it's going to be in 5 years or 10 years because I'm not selling until then. So it's not something that's worth worrying about. So if you find that you can't be at peace with yourself when the stock dips and it bothers you, then you probably should think about whether you should talk to a personal financial advisor. You should talk to somebody. If it's bothering you that much, you probably shouldn't have so much of your assets in a stock that's going to drive you nuts. I'm not all in, but I'm effectively all in. I'm about as all in as you can be. In my accounts, some of my accounts, I'm 98, 99% Tesla. I think one of my accounts, I'm 80% Tesla. I do have equity in a house, that kind of stuff. So I'm not, from a net worth perspective, I'm not all in, but I'm pretty in. And I don't lose sleep over it. If you realize I'm not selling next week, I'm not selling next month, I'm not selling next year, who cares? Who cares what the share price does? What matters is what the company does. Are they executing? Are they growing? Are they building new factories? Are they improving the software? Are they making progress on new products? Those are the things that matter for the long term. And little macroeconomic bumps in the road that have a big impact on other companies don't have a big impact on Tesla. That's what we see. All right. I want to move on from that. I just want to mention also, if you subscribed, if you are a supporter of my channel on either the Daily Lie on Patreon or at the exclusive content level as a YouTube channel member, then you get early access to most of my videos. This video is going to be public Monday morning, about a role of lawyers in Tesla. There's a lot of concerns in the legal community that Tesla is not handling their legal work properly. They don't have a top lawyer. They don't do things right with lawyers. There's lawyer turnover, all this stuff. And I find it hilarious. I think you'll find it hilarious. Well, the opening of the video is hilarious. Otherwise, I think it's just kind of funny how lawyers think about how Tesla is run. Because we all know we need more lawyers. The reason we've all invested in Tesla is because they hire the best lawyers, right? That's what we're looking for in a company. Hint, that's not why we invest in Tesla. We might prefer engineers running the company than lawyers running the company. I'm just saying. Okay, and if those who don't know, I'm a now retired trial lawyer. So, and again, the Daily Lie t-shirts at elonbits.com. Check that stuff out. Link to and I'm going to be live streaming at 2:00 talking about the risk of war on the Daily Lie. The Daily Lie. This is meant to make fun of the New York Times, right? And media in general, because the media lies to us a lot. If you haven't figured that out yet, that's my opinion. Okay, so also supporters on Patreon, on YouTube, and on the Daily Lie, I ask them to submit questions in advance of the live stream, and I do those. And I do Q&A on my live stream. You know, like kind of like with the chat. I'll be looking at questions in the chat soon. But people who are supporters on Patreon, the Daily Lie, or on as a YouTube channel member get to ask questions in advance. So Chris and Melinda Catalan asked, "Will Tesla batteries hold up better against towing?" So I think the short answer to that is currently when you're driving any vehicle, whether it's an electric vehicle or a gasoline vehicle, range is reduced by towing. There's particularly, I would say, with Teslas, it's more about the wind resistance. Range only matters if you're driving long distance, right? If you're driving 50 miles with your boat, then you're not going to run out of range. If you have a 300-mile range vehicle, you're towing and your range drops to 150, you're going to be able to make it to where you're going and back and still have 50 miles of range left. If you're dropped 50%. If you're towing long distance, then it's the aerodynamics of the trailer that matters more than the weight of the trailer. So Teslas, because of their high torque, electric vehicles because of their high torque, the weight of the thing you're towing doesn't matter as much. It matters probably more short distance, but long distance, again, it's the aerodynamics that matter. I don't think the batteries are going to be any better in that sense. You know, if you have a certain amount of range, you're going to lose just as much range towing as you would with newer batteries or older batteries. You're going to lose the same percentage of range. I think the real answer to towing is going to be depending on what you are towing, trying to make whatever you're towing as aerodynamic as possible. So Airstreams apparently are very aerodynamic, and they tow they don't cut into range as much. There's a company called Trailmanor that I've been thinking about buying an RV. I'm probably not going to do it, but I've been thinking about buying an RV, and there's a company called Trailmanor, and the trailer folds down, reducing the frontal surface area, reducing the height of the vehicle by about 7 feet, and thus reducing the frontal surface area about 30%. And that's going to make it a lot more efficient. So I've thought about doing that. I do think that Cybertruck, I've had arguments with people about this. I think Cybertruck, the first Cybertruck, will be a quad motor. It's going to have a big pack. I mean, the answer to holding up better against towing is a bigger battery pack. You can't fix aerodynamics, right? I mean, maybe there's some amazing technology in the new Cybertruck that we don't know about that's going to make Cybertruck much more efficient. But I think the practical reality is the Cybertruck is going to have a worse aerodynamic profile than my Model X. My Model X has a 104 kilowatt hour pack, and it has 333 miles of range, and it doesn't do well at high speeds. It loses a lot of range at, say, 85 miles an hour. Depends on the day. Some days it does better than others, but it loses a significant amount of range. So if you're towing a non-aerodynamic trailer, that's going to really hurt your range. And the Cybertruck itself is much less aerodynamic than the Model X that I have. So the solution for Cybertruck is going to have to be a really big battery pack. So if they throw a 180 kilowatt hour pack in Cybertruck, that might be enough to get them 500 miles of range. Maybe 190, maybe 200. That's what you're going to need. And then once you have 500 miles of range, if you lose 50% of your range, you still go 250 miles while you're towing. Add to that, you get a more aerodynamic trailer, and maybe you can do a little better. That's my gut hunch to that. So next question. This is from AK. Also on Patreon, expectations for the bot prototype are mostly low, even among Tesla fans. I'm not so sure about that, but is there a chance they'll show something shockingly impressive on Friday, something that even Wall Street might recognize? So my take on that is on the last question, no, there is nearly zero chance that Wall Street will recognize how significant bot is. I think my prediction of what bot is going to do, what they're going to do with the demo, and I'm often wrong. My gut hunch is that they will have a walking bot and they will give it sort of an obstacle course and they will tell it, hey, walk over to the green box. They'll give it a target and say, walk over to the green box. And there will be moving objects in the space as well. The bot will be using Tesla Vision, right? Tesla Vision enables the cars to see the space, to recognize what's around it, see the space that it's moving through, and navigate through that space. That is what Tesla's AI does right now. That's what FSD Beta does. It, it looks at a space, it develops an understanding of where everything is and where everything's moving, and it chooses a safe path through all of that. And that should be a very straightforward thing for bot to do. Other things that we're hoping for bot to do in the future are things like pick up objects, pick up a sensitive object and not break it, understand what it was asked to do and do it. These are challenging things. I think there's a good chance that they will demo something like that. And Wall Street will watch it and they'll say, oh, that's not as cool as Boston Dynamic robots do parkour. And Wall Street will not understand that the Boston Dynamic robots are programmed to do every move that they do. Where a bot will be just following will be given some general instruction that will do it without hand coding. That's my prediction of what they will show with bot. It may be that they have like a walking bot and then they have like arms and hands that are separate that are doing something else. I don't think I think it will be the AI community will appreciate it. They will get that this is special, but Wall Street will not get it. That's my because Wall Street never gets. I mean, Wall Street did not get Battery Day. Wall Street did not get Autonomy Day. Wall Street did not get the first AI Day. They don't get it. So, and the other thing to note is that the stock, what happens on AI Day will not have a direct impact on the stock next trading day because AI Day happens after hours on Friday, and the Q3 quarterly deliveries and production numbers will be released on Sunday. My prediction is they'll be released on Sunday. So the market opens the Monday after that. So the Q3 numbers are going to have a much bigger impact on the stock than whatever happens at AI Day. That's my general sense of that. All right, the last question from Patreon. And again, if you are a supporter on Patreon, on the Daily Lie, or on as a YouTube channel member at the exclusive content level, or no, YouTube channel member, period, you can ask questions in advance for the Sunday live Q&A. Chris and Melinda Catalan say, which industry will see Optimus first? Is their plan still replacing dangerous repetitive jobs? What sort of backups would be in place to ensure safety and reliability? A lot of questions there. My initial thought, and it appears I'm wrong, is that bot would first be so Optimus or Tesla bot would first be sold to people like me, like Tesla fans, as a beta program. We would expose bot to a variety of different environments. But there was a job posting recently that indicated that they were hiring, and it indicated that the bots would be used by the thousands in Tesla factories. So it appears the first industry that will see Optimus is Tesla factories. So the Tesla's car manufacturing, maybe Tesla's solar panel manufacturing, maybe Tesla's Megapack manufacturing. It appears that the plan is to use Optimus in Tesla factories first. I'm still hoping for a beta program, but we'll see. Program the bot to say, let's go. Sure. Is their plan still replacing dangerous and repetitive jobs? Dangerous, repetitive, and boring jobs. Yes. That is still the plan as far as I know. I think that's likely to happen down the road. I think that they want to have bot achieve a certain level of capability, and then once it achieves that level of capability, then they'll start looking at other ways it can be used. My simple example, like one of the simplest jobs for bot to do is security around the perimeter of a facility that needs to be secure. And you currently have 10 security guards, and say, you know what, we can go with 5 security guards and we can have 10 bots patrolling the perimeter, and we save a ridiculous amount of money not paying the extra 5 guards. And the bot doesn't have to manipulate any objects. It doesn't have to confront anybody. It's just walking around the perimeter, and its video is being relayed back to the office. And if the bot sees something that it thinks is suspicious, it says, "Hey Bob, I see something." Bob's back in the security office. "Hey Bob, I see something. You want me to, what do you think about this?" And you now have humans at the main office and maybe in the field who are monitoring what the bots are seeing, and then they're able to respond to potential threats. Um, what sort of backups would be in place to assure safety and reliability? I think you would just have extra bots. Guess that's the answer to that. Let's move on. This is a YouTube question from Jim Whitehead, who is in the chat. Jim Whitehead is a moderator and a channel member on YouTube. Jim says, inside EV's reports, Musk asked the NHTSA to stop calling the OTA over-the-air software updates recalls when no car is physically recalled. Is this simple bureaucratic inertia or a deliberate stick poke from GM, et cetera, through their union puppet president? I'm pretty sure this is just bureaucratic inertia. I don't think this is the handiwork of our lovely President Biden. I can't say for sure. I don't think it matters a whole lot. I don't think this moves the stock much. It doesn't have, and more importantly, it doesn't have an effect on the long-term results of Tesla. So who cares? All right, so that's that. Let me look in the chat. Michelle says bot won't be constantly texting instead of working on security. Amen. I agree with that. Let's see. Whatever I do doesn't work. I'm just messing around on my screen to see if I can make this sense. So, before it's too late, update on girlfriend situation. Girlfriend situation is looking pretty bleak. I had a date last night. I thought it went well. We'll see. There's always hope. I haven't given up yet, but dating is hell. I really enjoyed my date last night. I thought she had fun. See, am I bullish on FSD? Oh, Jim Whitehead, are you bullish on FSD? That's a question for Jim. I'll say I'm bullish on FSD. Nobody's surprised by that. Replace Biden with Tesla bot. Sure. Think how hard it is for a bot to do this. Make me a chicken soup. Find the right can, open it with a can opener, make it on a stove or microwave, and serve it. You want your bot to make you canned chicken soup? I want my bot to make me fresh chicken soup. Go get the carcass of last night's chicken, throw it in a pot, make chicken soup the right way. Don't make a canned soup. Come on. Anthony Daxis says use the Tesla bot for assisted living tests. I think this is a really, really good example of where bot will make a lot of sense. Because my mother was in an assisted living facility in memory care. There are certain parts of the work. First of all, assisted living facility, senior care staff are paid very, very low. And there's a lot of parts of the job that are really unpleasant, like cleaning up poop, frankly, cleaning up urine, cleaning up poop. And bot can do that job and not be disgusted by it and not risk getting an infection from it. So that's a really good job, and that frees the humans to provide other, real care. Putting bots straight into dangerous situations would be even more dangerous. AI will take some time. It depends on the situation. I mean, the whole point is what I see happening with the bot is bot will be trained to do something, walk through a space. At some point, bot will be able to be trained to perform certain tasks, lift this object, whatever. Over time, bot, the volume of data generated by bot and the increase in computing power in Dojo and whatever AI training supercomputers are to come, bot will learn and develop more skills at more tasks over time. Rauker says this session is too political and I don't like your crackpot political ideas. I've hardly talked about politics at all. I'm talking about macroeconomic issues in general in the video, so I don't know how you can talk about macroeconomic issues and not talk about politics at all. But LA Times article last week revealed that stationary battery provided 4% of all power during Labor Day heat wave and saved us from rolling blackouts. Yeah, that's great news. I see robo-taxi car announced on AI Day. If not, what other announcements outside of bot itself? Thank you, Larry, for that question. Larry the Lobster with a great question. I think there's a chance that we will get more details on the robo-taxi vehicle on AI Day. My guess is no. My guess is that Tesla will want to use the robo-taxi itself as a separate announcement, that these events are good. It's good to have events going on throughout the year at different points to get to rally the base. Right, we're not a political base; we're a fan base, but it rallies the base. Bill T says, which batteries will bot use? My guess is that bot will use 4680s, but I don't know for sure yet. It's too early to guess that. I don't know how big the battery pack is. I don't know what voltage the bot's going to run at. I think there's a lot of questions that go in there. It may be hard I don't think they'll use lithium iron phosphate. And my guess is they'll use nickel-based batteries, but we'll see. You know, if you're going to do bot, because bot is going to have a relatively small battery pack, my guess is it's going to have a less than 5 kilowatt hour pack, maybe a 2 kilowatt hour pack, something like that. It doesn't need as many batteries, so it wouldn't necessarily weigh that much. Oh, Rob, is the same question. Battery capacity and chemistry of bot. So if you figured that a Tesla Model 3 weighs, call it 4,000 pounds, and faces a lot of wind resistance and needs, let's say, a 60 kilowatt hour pack to have meaningful range, and bot is going to weigh 1/30th of the vehicle and not face significant wind resistance and probably not do heavy lifting or other things that are going to drain the battery, if the bot is made efficiently, I would think, you know, a 1 or 2 kilowatt hour pack might be enough for bot. It could last, you know, a day, that it runs from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. or something like that, plugs in at the end of the day. That's a ballpark guess. I don't think it'll need a 5 kilowatt hour pack. I would think it'd be significantly less than 5 kilowatt hours. Again, it's 1/30th the mass of a Model 3. It doesn't face wind resistance. It's not doing heavy lifting. It's just maneuvering itself. I'm going with 1 or 2 kilowatt hours. And you know, and you could see a version of bot where maybe it only has 1 kilowatt hour and it runs from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then it charges for a half hour and then it runs from 2 p.m. to midnight. Maybe it charges in the middle of the day and you have the different bots in the fleet charge at different times. And if you realize, all right, you got an 18-hour day and you're taking a half hour to charge in the middle of the day, you're not losing that much. That may be more efficient than using an extra kilowatt hour in the battery pack so it lasts all day. Because you can make more bots if you have the bot have a smaller pack. Manufacturing hell is worse than dating hell. I'm pretty sure manufacturing hell is worse than dating hell. Yes, Philip, I agree with that. Best J Powell is no J Powell. Before it's too. Oh, I did that. David wants a missed Tesla bot. Interesting. I don't want to hear more about that. We're not going to cover that in this video. Anthony Daxis says bot will stand in front of an approaching Model Y which stops, and the bot says, "See, Dan O'Dowd is blowing smoke." For those who don't know, Dan O'Dowd is a critic of FSD beta. Much as many of the analysts shift position on Tesla, they still most often refer to it as just a car company. Yes, it's just a car company. Sure. I'm looking through the chat to see if there's any other. Any thoughts on why legacy OEMs use prismatic and/or pouch cells versus Tesla, Rivian, Lucid, and other startups using cylindrical cells? I think it's particularly prismatic. Tesla uses prismatic cells in the lithium iron phosphate vehicles in China. I don't know if blade batteries are prismatic, but the CATL batteries that Tesla uses, and I think that may be standard range Teslas here. Those use prismatic cells. Lithium iron phosphate is a good prismatic is a good format for lithium iron phosphate. I think GM is the one that was using pouch cells. I think you end up with this sort of like, well, that's how we do things here. Or like it's hard institutionally for a company to change from what it was doing before. What do I think of this prediction? Justin says, what the initial delivery of Cybertrucks will sell for double online. Oh, in other words, if I get my Cybertruck quad motor and I pay 100 grand for it, I'll be able to turn around and sell it for 200 grand. I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I don't know if it's double, and I'm not selling it. I think it might go for 50K. I think you might see a 50% bump. Maybe very, very beginning, people would pay double for it. Just looking at the chat to see if there's anything else to talk about. Wonder if they'll make a C3PO version where timid English buffer. I don't know. I would imagine I would almost guess that Tesla will make a Tesla bot that acts like C3PO just for fun. Philip says, haven't heard much about Tesla Solar Roof. Are they still selling them? I believe they are selling Tesla Solar Roof. I believe they may. I mean, I just saw Drew Baglino talking about Solar Roof a few months ago. I think they may be shifting Solar Roof to new homes, where the new homes are designed for Solar Roof, so that it's just awkward putting Solar Roof on homes that are pre-existing that have complicated roofs. So if you design the house in advance to not have a complex roof, it's a lot easier to install an effective Tesla Solar Roof. I think that's how they're shifting. I don't know for sure. Um, BitConnect says, "Hey Warren, how's about that new aftermarket industry that bot will cause? The companies creating products and items to assist bot do those more difficult tasks." I think whenever you see, this is one of my big think ideas. One of the ways I think big about the world. Whenever you see wrenching technological change, the advent of the personal computer leads to all these things that spin off of the computer. And then you saw Microsoft Excel, the spreadsheet led to all these things that spun off the spreadsheet. You saw the internet and all these things spun off the internet. You saw Google search and so many things spun off of Google search. You see social media websites appear, and then all these businesses spin off social media. Um, I think you're going to see Robotaxi create ancillary businesses like Omar. In one of my, I interviewed Omar one time. He said maybe Cybertruck will, yeah, somebody will take a Cybertruck and put a pizza oven in it, and you'll order a pizza, and the Cybertruck, or maybe there's a bot in it, will make pizza en route to your house, and you get the pizza piping hot out of the oven. Maybe. I mean, then it's just one of many ideas that could make sense. Jim Manley has an interesting point here. Tesla bot can be scaled to any size. 38% gravity on Mars will allow for larger, stronger Tesla bots. It's an interesting perspective. Don't think you're wrong about that. Omar Cavazos says, Warren, they should put solar on the semi trucks. So the Tesla semi is the thing that pulls the trailer, and the Tesla semi is designed to pull whatever trailer needs to be pulled. Tesla isn't going to own the trailer. The solar panels on the trailer are not going to be linked to the semi. So I don't, and also as much surface area as there's certainly a lot more surface area on a semi trailer than there is on a car, and it might make sense. I don't think ultimately that makes sense. I think what makes sense is generating electricity in less expensive locations, not adding weight to the vehicle, which reduces your cargo capacity. It subjects the panels to all kinds of, difficult, challenging environments. I don't think it's really the answer. Philip, I think it makes sense to. There are some older buildings that have really simple roofs that it still makes sense to install solar roof. It may be that they're able to improve the product and their methods to get to the point where they can install solar roof inexpensively on complex roofs. But I think they may have decided not to bother and just focus on where solar roof can be most effective, and then you can put solar panels on other roofs. Beacon, great question. Beacon 179 says, when Tesla states they have enough battery manufacturing for now, does that mean there's a different choke point limiting production? Yeah, I mean, the choke point is ramping factories, getting labor. There's a lot of different, there's so many different choke points in the process of getting to manufacturing at scale. And the battle that Tesla factory managers face is constantly figuring out what's our current bottleneck, how do we fix that, what bottlenecks is that going to create when we do fix it? You're constantly anticipating where the bottlenecks are and solving them. And that's engineering at the manufacturing level, is just figuring out where are my bottlenecks and how do I fix them. And there's like 1,000 bottlenecks, 1,000 potential bottlenecks along the way. What do I think of Tesla integrating PVT with solar roof, integrate with the heat pump of their HVAC system? Photovoltaic thermal? I don't know that that's. I think that photovoltaic is probably enough to generate enough electricity. This regular solar cells, that I don't think you need to do another system, but it's an interesting idea. I just don't think Tesla's going to do that. Andreas says, I'm from Austria. Do you think Megapack could be a good solution for energy storage, even in contrast to water dam storage? I think there's a variety of ways of storing energy, but I definitely think Megapack is a very good, very cost-effective way of doing that. Morriston says, don't forget to take a small break before your next stream. I'll be good, thank you. I got water. I got my Tesla swag. Um, Benjamin Sanders, this is a great comment. Overcoming problems is what gives humans a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment. Once bot has solved nearly all of our struggles, we'll invent struggles designed for us to overcome. I hear things like that all the time, Benjamin. I don't think we should I think people overestimate. I think even Elon. I think people underestimate humans. Humans are incredibly flexible and adaptable creatures, and as technology changes the world, technology has been changing the world radically over the last really 200 years. And the longer we go, the faster it changes the world around us. And we've been adapting really, really well. And I was just having this conversation on Twitter today. What about people with low IQs? And number one, there's nothing worse than intellectual snobs, people who think they're smart and think that they're somehow more capable than people that they see as dumb who perform poorly on IQ tests. And I'll just give you an example. I'm driving a $150,000, say, Model X Plaid. I didn't pay 150 for it, but let's call it a $150,000 Model X Plaid. And I'm driving and I got stuck in sand. And the guys who got me out, they probably don't have as high an IQ as I do, but they knew how to get me out of the sand. They were able to figure out how to do it. There's always going to be stuff that needs to be done by people who aren't book smart. People who aren't book smart are often very, very good at useful tasks that nerds like me aren't good at. So I got 5 minutes left. So let me just quickly remind everybody that I'm going to be on the Daily Lie. I'm going to be on the Daily Lie, warrenredlick.locals.com, in a few minutes, talking about the risk of war, how it affects Tesla, what role Starlink plays in the risk of war, and just generally about how it affects life on Earth and all of us. So, all right, I think I'm going to follow Warriston's advice, and I'm going to take a break for a couple minutes before I start the next live stream. So please check out warrenredlick.locals.com for the next live stream. That is free to watch. If you want to chat or comment or participate or get advance notice, early access to my videos, please consider supporting me on the Locals platform on the Daily Lie. Thanks in particular to the moderators. If you're on YouTube, please check out my other videos. Support me on Locals Patreon. Check out the t-shirts at elonbits.com. Please like this video, share, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. A special thank you to the moderators who are Mark Plott, Jim Whitehead. I think Mark Potocznik's there. Thank you guys for helping out consistently. We'll talk to you. If you're coming up, see you on the Daily Lie in a few minutes. Thanks, everybody.